Welcome to the Creature Cast, the official Console Creatures podcast. And whether you like it or not, everybody, my name is David Petrangelo, and I am back this week. Sadly, I missed the last couple of weeks. Yes, thank you, Steve. Steve is quiet golf clapping in the background if you're not watching the video version. But yes, the two of us are here together this week for the Creature Cast. To talk all things video games. Lots of what we've been playing to catch up on, I think, is going to be pretty much the entire episode. Bobby's going to try and jump in just a little bit, but if he can't, you'll be hearing our two voices for a bit. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy that you're back. First off, how was Vegas? How was your trip away from Ontario?
It was hot, that's for sure. It's almost like Vegas is the desert or something. It's weird. Waking up at 7:30 and it's like 32 Celsius out already, and it doesn't drop until about like 10 p.m. You know, why complain? I know a lot of people just want good weather and whatever, and that's totally fine. But it was fun. It was cool to go. The only other time that I've been to Vegas was very brief, and it was just hanging out at family and just sort of being with the kids and just hanging out with my brother and stuff like that. And we did a lot of that still this time, but there's much more going on, and it was like a little bit more of an event, I guess you could say. But
Nice.
it was fun. We survived, and that's what matters. We had a good time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool.
Vegas is such a special place. I think it's like a playground. Anyway, it's unlike anywhere else in the world. I've only been once, and I spent probably, I think, 4 or 5 days there, and yeah, I would go back in a heartbeat just because it's unlike anything else.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I was there right in the middle of when they won the Stanley Cup and was there celebrating that, and yet it didn't. I mean, it was the biggest thing going on for sure that week, but it didn't feel like the only thing going on like it would be in a lot of cities, right? So that's why it was kind of unique in that way and really cool to see. But amazing turnout. It's cool how like a city like that has not had a pro team up until a few years ago turned out for that. And yeah, sure, I'm sure a lot of them are tourists, a lot of people from out of town because it's Vegas, but like it was great. The city put on a great show and the team did really well, and it was like everyone's super friendly and happy to be there and everything. It was a good time. So it was fun. I got some gaming in, which is nice. I was able to take my Switch with me, so I got some of that done, and my little emulator device where I got to play a couple of games. So I had some stuff that I could take with me, so that was a good time. But yeah, awesome. So let me actually jump in because I have like a long list because it's been probably 3 weeks ish since we've sort of caught up.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Life happens and it flies by, right?
Yeah.
So I'll start with a couple of things that were handheld, I guess. I think just because I mentioned that one of them was Fall of Porcupine, which was shown at one of the Nintendo Directs, I believe, maybe 2 months ago, something like that. Not the one that just happened, but the one previous to that. And yeah, it's a story-driven, I guess you could call them point-and-click adventure type of games where you sort of go and about your day and your tasks, and you talk to a lot of people and you get to know them and you have ongoing conversations with them. It's that kind of game. If you look up the video of it, you'll sort of recognize what kind of style and game that is. So it's very quiet. It's very simple. It's sort of... I've seen some reviews and some write-ups and stuff say like, oh, it's a cozy game. And in some ways it is, because it takes place in the fall and everyone's very friendly and it has that aesthetic and everything. But Fall of Porcupine is not really that cozy because of the subject matter that it deals with. It is actually a very serious game. It's definitely a very adult game. Not that it has a ton of adult language, but it is one of those things where through adulthood, through jobs, through careers, through the healthcare sector, and just finding your place in the world is what this game is about. So every character is an animal, anthropomorphized character. So you have your Finley, which I believe you're a pigeon. I think that's the bird. I don't even know if they say exactly what kind of animals they are, because to them they're just people, right, in the context of the game. And you are beginning your, I want to say it's residency. I may be getting that term wrong. So if anyone's a doctor or nurse and has that experience, I may be getting that wrong. But you start your residency at a hospital in this small town called Porcupine, and you are learning how to be a doctor in the early days of working in a hospital. And for the most part, the game is about you talking to your coworkers, you befriending some of your coworkers if you choose to spend the time to get to know them and stuff, and dealing with the fact that you are away from family and friends. You're there on your own. It's a small town, and you're just sort of dealing with life and sort of dealing with, honestly, anxiety, depression, what it means to have friends in times like that, how you build friendships with coworkers and random people in small towns like this. And then every once in a while, there'll be like these little mini games where on the Switch, for example, where I played it, if you are going to change dressings on one of your patients, for example, so like, you know, you have to change your bandages and stuff, you have to press like these series of buttons, but it's not just a quick time event. It's sort of like it's interesting because it actually makes you feel like it is a tricky thing to do, even though like change dressings is obviously a very delicate thing, takes skill, takes practice, and it's very important, right? Yeah. So what they do in order to make you feel that way, even though you are just pressing buttons on a controller, is that you'll press, let's say, ZL, A, X, B, and like down on one of the joysticks all at once. And you have to hold it for like a couple seconds. And then you have to flip to another combination of things and another combination. And yeah, and depending on how long it takes you to do it and how accurately you are pressing those buttons in the combination, it'll give you a little small grade, which you take back to your boss, and your boss tells you how well you did or whatever. You don't fail the game if you don't do it perfectly or anything, but I found myself going, oh, yeah, no, this... you know, it's somehow that simple series of button presses made me feel like I was doing the work, even clearly I am not. So, but really what the game is about is the story and the characters and how much time it allows you to sink into knowing who these characters are and what they do and what their life is. And yeah, sure, they're all little cute looking animals and everything, but they're people. And the writing is fantastic, and I think I highly recommend it. It's definitely something that you can pass over because there's just so much out and so much going on right now. But if these types of games are your thing and you have, I want to say it was like 7, 8, 9 hours, somewhere in that range. I know it's a large range, but I think I completed somewhere around 8.5 to 9 hours. It's well worth that time, if not more. So yeah, Fall of Porcupine, I was pleasantly surprised. I wrote in the review at consolecreatures.com that I expected this to be a fairly well-told story, but I didn't expect to actually have so much emotion when I was playing this game, and that's all due to the writing, I think. And that's the high point for it. So yeah, anyways, Fall of Porcupine. Yeah.
That's awesome. It sounds like a really cool game. I like those like cozy games, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a subgenre that's emerging more and more every year, and I feel like a lot of people can get behind that.
Yeah, and we both played Beacon Pines last year. I know that you played it after I mentioned that I did. And it feels and looks a little bit like that. I think that one has, yes, it does go into serious places, but is much more like supernatural or much more, you know, not bombastic, but it has other elements to it. But in a similar way, it feels like it might be one game, and then it quickly goes into something else and delves a lot deeper into the characters and stuff. Even though there's bigger things happening. Now, there's no supernatural elements in Fall of Porcupine and stuff. It's not like that. It's very grounded, despite the characters and the way that the art style is made. It's still grounded in reality, which is sort of a weird way to say it, but yeah, it's highly recommended. I say put it on your wish list if you want to keep an eye on it, and grab it anytime. I think it's a great weekend play, which is essentially what it took me to get through it. You could definitely spend your weekend doing worse things, especially if it's one of those rainy weekends that you can't get much else done outside. So yeah,
For sure.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so and then one last thing I want to say that I played handheld because now I have the Switch Online expansion pack. I played Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap for the very first time. So it's one of the few, one of the very few GBA games that's on Switch Online right now. There's small selection. It's expanding like it will with everything else, but that was the one that caught my interest the most because I just played through Majora's Mask. If people have been listening and seen my write-up on that, I also have a write-up on Minish Cap as well on the website. But essentially, Minish Cap, even though I have only played, I would say, about 50% or 60% of Zelda games, is now up in that top 3 for me. Because,
Really?
yeah, I really liked it. And I think part of it is this like nostalgic feel I have. I don't know if this is something that might click with you as well, but the Game Boy Advance has this. I mean, it's probably just because of what you're able to do with that technology when you're developing a game, but it has this Saturday morning cartoon look in a lot of ways for the character
Yeah.
sprites. And I really, really like that. Like, it's not every game, and it doesn't have to be that way for me to enjoy it, but there's something about this, like, small body, slightly larger head because of the view that you see everything as in a lot of GBA games. The first thing that came to mind when I saw the way that all the characters are created in this is it looks like the Mario Golf game for GBA, which is one of my favorite sports games ever. Very similar, very, very similar. The art style is so similar, and I love that. So I love the way that the world was presented just in the art style itself. And I like the mechanic of being able to shrink down. I think it's cool. They literally give you a different perspective on Hyrule, and there's some interesting sort of puzzle mechanics with that. And yeah, all the little sort of gadgets and items and weapons that you have are a little bit different and stuff that I personally haven't seen in a game before from Zelda, from the series. And I love the 2D Zelda games. Like, to me, those are still my favorite ones. I love these old school looking ones and feeling ones. And I don't think, and I think this is a plus in my book at least, and not saying that Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild shouldn't be these games. They're completely different games, but it's nice that I didn't have to sink 50 to 100 hours into a game, a Zelda game, to be able to get a full experience, enjoy it, and expand across the map over the course of, like, I think it took me 9 or 10 days to get through this. And I couldn't put it down. It was great. I don't know exactly how long it took me to beat it. I'm sure it was like 20 hours or something like that is going to be my guess. I would say most of the extra stuff, but none of it is like, you don't have to do all of it in order to complete the game. And yeah, I just like the sort of childlike nature of it, the way it's presented and the way that the world looks and everything. And playing Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but in Hyrule is pretty fun. So that's that was, yeah. So it's up there. And now again, my list of playing Zelda games is not complete, not anywhere close. I haven't played, Twilight Princess and a lot of the 3D ones. I have not played Tears of the Kingdom yet, but I love this game. It's great. It's fantastic. So it was cool to play Majora's Mask and then have the palate cleanser in the franchise as Minish Cap. It was sort of a good, like, back-to-back as well. So you've played this?
No, that's awesome. Yeah, so I've played it. I don't have too many fond memories with it, to be honest, only because I think the time and place I did play it was kind of probably post Majora's Mask, maybe around the same time I played Twilight Princess, and it was kind of one of those things where getting so far advanced, pardon the pun, but in that series and franchise and getting like so much inundated with like the 3D graphics and how advanced the series is getting, kind of taking a step back at the time, especially at the age I was when around that time. I was like, it is kind of basic. But I mean, in hindsight, now that I think about it and the way that you're explaining it and everything, I was like, yeah, I feel nostalgic. I kind of miss that. Because even we're talking about Tears of the Kingdom and everything. I was telling Bobby even on one of the shows, I was like, I love this game. I love Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but there's no shot in hell I'll ever revisit either of these games just because of how expansive they are, how big they are. Like, it's a game I'm just going to play through, reach credits. I'm not even done Tears of the Kingdom, to be honest, because of how much is there. I'm just kind of like slowly chipping away and kind of enjoying it on my own pace. But it is one of those games that, like, once credits roll, I'm going to be like, all right, that's it. Minish Cap, like Oracle of Ages and Seasons, or even any of the other 2D games, I could go back to at any point, like drop of a hat. Anytime I'm like, you know what, I could go back to any of these like classic Zelda games. They're easy to pick up because of how accessible they are and how small they are.
Yeah, it's like, it's
so maybe
funny.
I will one day because I do have expansion.
No,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's funny because like Link Between Worlds is one of my favorite ones. Like, but like the little mechanics is what gets me sometimes too, right? If that little mechanic, like Link Between Worlds, you sort of go flat like paper, and you can go along the walls and stuff. This, you shrink down to Minish size, and you can see everything from a different perspective and get through different hallways or whatever you want to call them and stuff. Like, if that is going to hook me, then I will continue going because I know roughly what you're going to expect. You have dungeons, you have puzzles, you have new characters or whatever. And that's fine that it's not the same, but aspects of it are similar. And if that hooks me, then I'm game, and that's exactly what happened here. And then, like you mentioned with Breath of the Wild and Tears as well, is that like I think I told myself that I'd go back and play Breath of the Wild again and do more things or do different things, but I haven't gone back to it since I went through it. I want to say at least 4 years ago. So
Really, yeah.
yeah, so I'm kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
Steve, what have you been playing? Let's get to at least one of the games that you've been playing, so I'm not yammering on too much here.
No. I love hearing you go talk about Minish Cap. I'm kind of incentivized now to go back, and because I have expansion pack on Nintendo Switch Online, I might do that at some point this year. Yeah, one of the games I'll talk about is Crime Boss Rockay City. I know it's a kind of a few weeks since it came out on consoles, but I'll
Yeah.
bring it up anyways because I feel like I'm the only one playing this game.
Dude, I forgot this game even came out. So, like,
So did the internet, it seems like. Um, and honestly, I wish I could come into this conversation with more positivity about this game, but it really does feel like this game missed the mark in so many ways. Is for people who might not even realize what this game is. This game was shown off, I think, at like one of the Game Awards or Summer Game or like maybe Gamescom or something.
I think
They
it
brought
was.
out
I
Michael
think it was
Madsen.
Game Awards. Yeah, I think it was Game Awards. I remember me and Bobby were watching it, and we had like we posted
Yeah.
the entire reaction thing of us watching it live and everything. And I think at the time we were very confused, and then they kept dropping all these big names, and we're like, okay. I mean, that could be good, but that could also be a sign of like, let's just spend money on that and not anything else. Anyways, I might be stepping on your toes here, so go ahead.
Not at all. That's kind of what I was getting to. So yeah, the basis of this game is essentially selling you on this like huge cast. So I'm just gonna run through it right off the
Yes.
top. So it has Michael Madsen, Danny Trejo, Danny Glover, Michael Rooker, Vanilla Ice, Chuck Norris, Kim Basinger. It's a weird cast, and essentially what it is a first person roguelite where you play as Michael Madsen's character. His name is Travis Baker, not Travis Barker, the drummer from Blink-182. That
That
always
would-
gets me fucked up.
That would be great.
I think, cooler. And essentially you're trying to grow this crime organization, this operation, and it's a roguelite where you play each segment as if it was a day. So every day you see like the overview of Rockay City. You have the other like crime lords, which are like Danny Trejo, Vanilla Ice, and everything. And they all have their separate areas of the city, and you're kind of doing this turf war, kind of like San Andreas style, where you have to go select their piece of the city and be like, I'm going to attack them. You boot up this like smaller level, you kill like 16 of their men. If you do so successfully, cool, you take over that little area.
Okay.
And alongside that, you're also doing like all these robberies, kind of like Payday style, where you're maybe going into a bank or like a shopping mall, kind of like a small like shopping strip mall kind of thing, or you're taking over a bank or like a like a money van kind of thing, where they're delivering cash. Yeah, you know what I mean. So that you have like those three separate like missions as well that you can do each day, and essentially you're trying to accumulate as much money to grow your empire. Essentially, the crux is that Michael Madsen's character, he can go out on the field, complete some of these missions and everything. If he dies at any point, your game resets. So it's this whole thing where like, yeah, he starts out and he has the better guns, more life than kind of like your ground level criminals and everything. So you take him out, you have the risk. But every time you level up Travis Baker, Michael Madsen's character, you get like these permanent cards. So it's like a permanent buff. So if you do die, the next game that you start up, you might have increased money to start out with, or an increase, like an additional henchman to use, if you will. So there's a cool foundation there, just in the turf war aspect, and like kind of planning these missions. It's especially because it is framed around like being a co-op game, so you can play a lot of this with 3 other people. So it is a cool idea to kind of go in and be like, okay, we're going to rob this bank. Let's go in. We're going to kind of case the joint, make sure we know where all the security guards are. Make sure we bypass the cameras, get to the control room, shut the cameras off, go to the vault, put the drill saw there, cut through the vault. SWAT team comes in, you're all kind of covering each other's back while you're robbing all the money, putting it in bags, and then getting off to the getaway van. That's essentially the kind of loop there.
But
Where
if
the
you're
game
not
kind
playing, but if you're not playing co-op, are those all
Right.
AI characters essentially?
They're all AI
Okay.
characters, yeah, that you kind of have to then parent because they're pretty fucking stupid. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. The AI across the board is just kind of just like smooth brained, where they're just making it through. Even the enemies just kind of they'll pinpoint you specifically, the play like the
Right.
player, not the AI, but they'll pinpoint you and come after you. But they don't do like their animations aren't all that interesting. You have like three variants of the police. You have like the beat cop, SWAT members, and then like the specialty uh SWAT agents with like more armor essentially.
Right.
But the game kind of does fall apart after you look at like the base gameplay loop, where it does become like, okay, well, the co-op, unfortunately, the game hasn't been selling all that well. So even getting into like an online lobby with other players, maybe I've gotten like 2 or 3 out of the 4 on a consistent basis. It's kind of unfortunate. I'm not going to be able to sell like you or Bobby on this game because it's kind of rough. And the big thing, again, going back to the top of this whole thing, was this cast. I was like, okay, even if the gameplay is kind of subpar, it doesn't really hit me the way I want to see these characters interact. And this is a game that very much feels like it was at least the dialogue anyways, made throughout COVID, where they contacted Michael Madsen and they're like, read these lines. And he doesn't know who he's talking to. He doesn't know how he is supposed to respond, because he'll be talking to Kim Basinger, and it sounds like they're in obviously two separate rooms. They don't really know like there's no chemistry between the characters.
Right.
They're just saying weird shit. Like, honestly, some of the dialogue is really bad. Michael Rooker, he plays this character called Touchdown. Do you want to know why he's called Touchdown, Dave?
My guess is because he probably plays basketball, right? Isn't that what touchdowns are from, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. No. He's a football inspired hitman.
Sure. Sure.
Right. Because in all crime organizations, that's exactly what you'd
That's
expect.
the guy. Yeah.
But a lot of that's the guy, and a lot of his dialogue is just talking about how he has a big dick. Imagine spending the money to get Michael Rooker, a pretty good actor, to say that over and over again.
Ugh.
It's weird, man.
Ugh.
I really wanted more out of this. Yeah, but just kind of just seeing like the online discussions, and there's barely any to begin with, and knowing that, it's very hard to get like a full crew together online just organically. It does feel like this game struggles, and I think it's just really unfortunate. The other weird thing is that right off the bat, when like you load into the game, it does, tout that this is an Unreal Engine 5 game. Like, this is built off, a brand new engine. This should be pushing the
limits.
The game, like the game industry. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't. It really doesn't. This feels like it almost feels like it's running kind of like off the same engine that Rainbow Six Siege with the gameplay, or the gunplay. It just feels very stiff. You kind of do like a sway motion if you're peeking behind, like around a corner, just like Siege, but it just doesn't really feel that good. It's very basic for a 2023 game. It almost feels very much like they took a lot of the mini games, or like the supplemental stuff that you would do in like GTA Online, and they're like, let's just make a game out of this, without there being like any kind of real hook there. It's an unfortunate thing, because I mean, the cast alone should have been a big draw for a lot of players. The gameplay, the fact that it's running on UE5, none of it really hits. And the worst part. So the worst part was that, okay, I died once, and I was like,
it's not the dick discussions. There's worse parts than that.
there's worse because like I was trying to give this like the old college try and everything. I was like, I want to see how far I can like actually get into this and see,
Yeah.
I really wanted to see Vanilla Ice and like Vanilla Ice and Michael Madsen interact. That was the main selling point for me. But so I died once and I was like, man, that really sucks because you have to restart and
Yeah.
build your empire again essentially. But then I found out that if you end up like dying like in a mission, you could just close the game, restart it, and you restart that mission. So I was like, cool, I'm just cheesing the fuck out of this game. I'm not playing these roguelite rules.
Uh,
But what sucks is that I loaded up one mission and I wasn't even paying attention. I was supposed to bring three other AI with me
okay.
to kind of defend this warehouse with Travis Baker, the main character that can't die. That's important here. I wasn't paying attention. I only brought one other person, one other AI in,
It
and I'm
lets you
stuck in this
bring
mission
one.
now.
It lets you bring one.
It only let yeah, it
Even if
lets
you
you select like as
lets you
many
select just one instead
as
of a
you
full
want.
team. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, because there is like this mechanic of like if you want to maximize how many missions you can do in a quote unquote day, you might want to take just one person or two people. That leaves, the
Okay.
rest for another mission, right? You kind of like min max
Gotcha.
your missions for the day. So I accidentally did that. But I'm stuck in this warehouse where it's just getting overrun by enemies, and I'm like, I'm dead every single time. Like I just
Oh,
cannot power my way through this level, no matter how many times I close the game, open it up because I'm like, I I don't want to restart this game. I don't even know why it's worth it to me. It's a game I'm playing like on the back burner of playing like Diablo 4 and Tears of the Kingdom and everything. I pop in like maybe an hour or two like every other day or something, just kind of playing around with it. But I am legitimately stuck now where it's like, okay,
oh.
maybe I just cut my losses and kind of move on at this point because I am not replaying everything I've
Up to
done so
that point,
far.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, not
like you
happening.
said, the basis for things like when you said, oh, you die and you get this, card system type of thing, and it sort of carries you through a little. I'm like, oh, okay, there's the roguelike elements and stuff. Okay, that's cool. I could see that. That sounds fun. But everything else around it seems to sort of like fall apart and stuff. So, um, I mean, I want to say hopefully you get through that mission, and I'm rooting for you. But also, it's okay if you don't. Like, it's fine, man. There's too much to play. There's too
Yeah.
much to play. So, it's all right.
Big thing is yeah, there's so much to play right now that I don't really feel too bad if I don't.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, you mentioned Diablo 4. Let's talk about that a little bit. I have a little bit of Final Fantasy experience to talk about, but just in case Bobby's able to pop in, I want to save that just in case.
Yeah,
So
that'll be a good transition from one to the other.
yeah, so yeah, we'll point out the transition because that's what you do, right? When it's a smooth transition, is you
Absolutely.
point it out. Yeah. So what's been your experience so far, like with Diablo 4? How far have you gotten? Are you rolling multiple characters? For me, personally, I have just rolled one character still because
Mhm.
I was away for almost 10 days, and I fell behind sort of for that time, and I was playing other things, and I just that final like those last two acts, I guess, I thought were going to be a lot quicker based on the way that the dialogues were going or whatever. It took a lot longer than I thought it would, which is totally fine. It's not a complaint, but I thought I was getting towards the end before I went away, and then I realized I had a lot more chunk of it. But so I've wrapped up the main quests. I got to, I want to say, level 52 or 3 with my character,
Okay.
and I use sorcerer all the way through because that's sort of like my go-to class, and then I'll move on to another one probably when the first season pops up sometime in the next like 3 weeks and stuff. So that's where I'm at. What about you?
Yeah. Similar to you. So beat the game with my barbarian, rolling one character just like you, because I was like, I'm just gonna see how much of the end game grind I can get through with a singular character, and then start my necro build when season one comes and actually go hard. Because right now, like in the end game, I'm still enjoying it. Don't get me wrong, but it is kind of like a more passive thing where I'm just kind of experimenting, seeing what works, what doesn't work, and testing out my experience like that. But I will say, I know people are loving Tears of the Kingdom. I know people are loving Final Fantasy 16. This is an easy game of the year for me. Like
Damn.
there has to be like a strong game like maybe Starfield or like
Right.
a surprise game to come out or something, maybe Spider-Man, but this is everything I've wanted out of Diablo 3. This is exactly bringing me back to Diablo 2, where it's if I'm not playing Diablo, I'm on TikTok scrolling through and just watching every Diablo video that pops in. I'm on the Diablo subreddit. I'm talking to other friends and on Twitter about Diablo. Like it's one of those games that is just I'm fully immersed in. I think I mean there are obviously things that they can improve on, but I think from the core Diablo experience, let alone like an awesome campaign, but getting into the gameplay, the end game experience, the grind, everything feels really good out of exactly what a longtime Diablo fan wants, in my opinion, anyways. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, no, I mean it's an improvement on pretty much every stage, every level, I would say. And that's I think we said
Yeah.
that from the beginning. It felt that way even during beta, where when all these tweaks have still been made since then. So lots has changed, but for the better. Obviously, the full experience isn't there yet. We don't have any battle pass yet for anyone who hasn't played it yet. That doesn't come into play until the season.
Right.
But as far as the core gameplay itself, I'll get to a question that I have for you as well in a sec, but. Yeah, I
Sure.
agree. I think that just the way that everything is crafted, just about the all the different choices you have, or variety of choices that you have, the areas are interesting, the enemies are interesting, the sound design I think is honestly every single area you go into, every enemy, every new skill that you have. There's particular enemies. There's one enemy that has stuck with me from the beginning, that the sound design, and he's just like a basic. It's just a basic enemy. When you kill
Okay.
it, when you kill the giant trees, it
Oh
sends like
yeah.
this, almost like an echo of like a tree falling in the forest kind
Yep.
of thing. And I'm like, and it like I hope when I fight those things that it is the last thing that I'm fighting, because I want
Right.
to hear that sound. It's
Yep.
just like it's rewarding just to listen to like a tree falling. And it's just a regular enemy. It's not an elite, it's not anything special. And it most of them are towards the first half of the game, I would say, in certain
Hmm.
areas, but like or at least in those regions. And it's just like little things like that. Like all the atmospheric sound design and everything is fantastic. I'm running it all on high settings. I think there's a couple that are like ultra or whatever, but I put some stuff down just a notch just in case it doesn't chug a little bit on my computer. But it's running amazing. It looks fantastic. The lighting's amazing. The character designs are great. I love the loop of stuff. I have found myself sticking with a lot of the same loot for longer than I thought I would, but I'm
Yeah.
comfortable with that build, so I'm not
Mm.
too bent out of shape about it, right? So I'm like, okay, I like this build, I like the way it plays, I'm gonna run with it. When I got to the last kind of couple of acts, I switched up a couple of skills, but for the most part, I just upgraded my gear that I had because it still worked for one or two skills that I might have changed or adjusted a little bit.
Yep.
And yeah, and I don't know, I find the sorcerer super fun. I love the glass cannon approach. I love being able to throw fireballs and blizzards out of the sky at the same time, and great combos. I ended up getting a combo of how you can put your sort of what do they call they're passive abilities, but I can't
Right.
remember if they with the enchantments, I think is what they call them, where you can get two enchantments for your character, and they do passive abilities based on what you've unlocked so far on your skill tree. So you can kind of double up on one of your skills, which is kind of cool. So one of the fire ones is that whenever an enemy dies, it explodes into a ball of fire, and that does a little ring of damage with enemies around it, right? And then I
Yep.
also combined that with when an enemy is frozen, which I had a lot of ice skills. I kind of went the ice way with a couple of fire skills. And when an enemy is frozen, the amount of damage I do to that enemy when it's frozen pushes out, I think it's like 20 or 30% of its damage when it thaws or dies.
Oh
So
wow.
when an elite is frozen, for example, and it doesn't die off of a couple of hits because it still has lots of health left, it will still hit the little guys around it. And then those little guys will die, and then all those little guys will start exploding and stuff. So, like, a sorcerer can very easily, or someone who does not have a big health pool or armor or whatever, can easily be swarmed by a lot of small enemies, and that sometimes is worse than facing a boss, for example. But I found a way around that by combining those two passives that all I have to do is essentially sometimes drop a fireball from the sky, and all I see is all these little things just explode around me, and then now it's just me against the elite, and that's it, and it's fantastic, and
Amazing.
it's so fun. My question to you, based on all these talents and stuff I'm talking about,
Yeah.
is: are you sort of min-maxing your build? Are you kind of like just going for it and just, are you looking up guides and things like that, or are you just you are okay? See, for
Yeah.
me, I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm just going off the
Okay.
seat of my pants and just going
Really?
for it. Yeah. So
And how do you find that? Like especially now that you're past the campaign and into the like the end game experience.
yeah, so I've only had a couple of hours into endgame. It hasn't been crazy, so that might change. My approach may change when I go to World Tour 3 or 4, or I'm doing dungeons that are much more difficult. Like there might be something that I really need to try and do that with, but I like the fact that I don't know what's going to do what and how it's going to combine. Like I want that surprise and I want to see what works for me. I have multiple talents on my talent tree that I used a couple of times, and that's it. And I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'll build around and tailor around what I find to be working for me, and I like that approach. But long term, level 70, level 90, whatever I might get to on certain characters, maybe that approach will change. But for now, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, that's the approach so far for me. Oops, I just clicked something by accident. Whoopsies, there we go. I was about to ask you a question, but Bobby's here. Bobby. How's it going, buddy? He can't hear us.
He cannot hear us.
Oh, now he's gone. Oh, I'm 100% keeping this in the episode. We were so excited.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk more Diablo then for now.
Let's talk more.
Yeah, let's
Diablo.
talk about so your skill approach in that, unless you want to go on to something else.
No. I'll touch on that because I definitely am running like a build that for people who might be interested in kind of like end game builds and kind of guides to kind of min max and build a better or a stronger recommended build. I would check out Icy Veins online. He does like the website does like very comprehensive breakdowns of builds, and not only just like what the best builds are, but why they're good, and it really does walk you through like the theory crafting behind all these builds. So the reason I do this is because I'm playing Barbarian, and it's as far as I know, the only class that you have to build your like willpower meter. Essentially, it's Fury.
Oh,
And
okay.
essentially, what I tried to do and what I've been able to do is make a whirlwind barbarian that can auto-generate infinite amount of fury, as long as he can like maximize on like crowd control. So basically, if there's more than like 3 or 4 enemies in a group, that meter does not go down as long as I am using my abilities at the right time, building off of one another, and just waiting for the cooldown, hitting the next one. So it's perfect for doing like nightmare dungeons and hitting those elites. As long as I can wrangle enough like of those like minions in, and then keep hitting the elite over time, it's really great. But without that build, I was constantly like doing like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and then my fury would just drop all the way down, and then I would have to like use my basic skill, build that meter back up, and then kind of whittle it down. Here, I don't know. I don't question the build. I don't question Icy Veins, and Icy Veins we trust. It just works, and it's something that I like. So far with the Barbarian, that's the way I'll go. Maybe with like a Necromancer, when season 1 starts, I'll start venturing off on my own and kind of testing the waters. But for me to really enjoy the class I have right now, I kind of did go with a build that's online.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of deep stuff you can get into, so it's it's nice.
Yeah.
It's great. There's lots of options there. The skill trees are huge. Once you get into Paragon stuff, it expands even more.
Oh my god, I couldn't believe it.
I know it's huge. I mean, I expected something, but I actually did not see that tree until it opened up to me. Like I didn't want to look it up. I just wanted to be like, okay, what's it going to do? And I know like what it gives you is different depending on the character, but on the class. But Yeah.
I just had to throw this out there. I saw an amazing Reddit post on the Diablo subreddit where someone posted a picture of the first Paragon board on their character, and they're like, "I'm so excited! I can't believe I filled out my Paragon board," and everyone was like, "Do we tell him?"
Did you though?
Yeah, like, you know, you're not even anywhere near the end because like how many stacks and like boards you can apply
It's
to like
wild.
expand it. It's wild. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can't believe it.
and there's like, there's numerous things that are happening within it. It's not just like, hey, I have a skill point, I'm going to put it here. Hey, I have a skill point. It's there's certain branches that you take that give you a different type of bonus because you've tailored towards that direction and all those types of
Exactly.
things. Like little incentives to either pick a direction or try to spread what your points are going to do and sort of go from there. I think it's a cool design. I haven't sunk enough into it. Like I said, I think I'm 53, so I've gotten like nowhere on mine essentially.
Sure.
But I'm sort of looking through it and what I can get. Like I was sort of looking through the ones that I
Yep.
haven't unlocked yet. And I was like, oh damn, this is crazy. And I have heard that it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm all for it. We're before we keep going, I want to say, Bobby, are you there? Are you back? Are you here?
I'm
Hello.
just listening to this nonsense because you should be playing Final Fantasy VII right now,
No,
Well,
no, no.
and like that's like your only mission right now is just to finish that game and do the right thing.
for anyone who's
Because
not watching the video version, Steve looks like he just smelled some really bad old
Yeah.
cheese on his desk or something.
well, he
Diablo
doesn't
4.
have a say in this matter because his taste in just about everything is questionable because he offended our friends at the mixer this weekend by saying pineapple pizza doesn't belong at the mixer. And personally, Toronto, this is why we have this bad weather, this bad smoggy, smoky weather. It's because
Right.
what he said destroyed the city.
Steve lit
well, Bobby.
Toronto on fire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
burning all this god awful topic. Well, Bobby, you would be delighted to know if you were at the mixer, at the Toronto mixer, that there was loads of people in support of me, in support and being on the right side of history.
There's no record of that. All I know is that you said something and people jumped on it. And I wasn't at the mixer.
Oh yeah,
for
because
that reason.
crybabies don't exist on Twitter.
Oh God, no.
I will say this. I'm on Steve's side with the whole not putting pineapple on pizza thing. I always have been. But
Thank you.
I will say that Bobby's right that pizza does deserve to be there because it's good to have choice for people and people do like it. It's not that you should never have it. It's just not my thing. So in the long
It's
run,
just
no thank you.
unfortunate. It's
But if people
unfortunate.
want it, whatever. Just give them what they want. That's fine. That's all. That's where I stand. I'm gonna be
People
somewhat.
I did
want
appreciate
pineapple,
that they put it
and we
right
give
next
them
to the
pineapple.
garbage.
So you didn't have to walk far to throw it out.
Exactly.
There's no reason to throw it out. It should be going down your
Down the
stomach,
gullet.
down the gullet, into the brig, enjoying it for what it is.
Okay. Bobby, I'm. Oh, go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say just before we wrap up the Diablo talk, because I know Bobby is going to be very, very hot and heavy about Final Fantasy in just a moment, and I do want to hear his thoughts on the game. But before we wrap up the Diablo talk, I just want to point out, like, I am a really big fan of the end game content in this game. I'm excited for you to kind of get your mitts in there and kind of play around with it because I think a lot of other like games as a service kind of structured games, end game material can kind of be questionable and it kind of can get repetitive and kind of boring. I think Diablo has a really solid mix of stuff that you can do to not only improve your level and grind out levels to get into like world tier 3, world tier 4, etc., but also like your level or your item power
Right.
and items. So yeah, I really love the Helltide stuff, being able to like min max Helltides. Helltide.com is a great resource for people out there. It tells you exactly where the best farming spots, the mystery chest. It's great if you really just want to go, balls deep into that. The PvP areas are actually a lot of fun, Dave.
Are
I
they?
was surprised
Okay.
because Diablo PvP can be a little hit and miss. You could end up with like some toxic players, but honestly, and I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe it's just the time of day I'm playing and everything. Most people just play together. You
Oh,
might run into like the one asshole that like wants to like fight, but in both of the PvP PvE areas, there's like a boss that everyone can kind of like group up on, get a bunch of the rewards there, and usually people are chill, people are helping each other out, doing events and everything. It's honestly awesome, and maybe like
cool.
props to the community because yeah, it's not as toxic as I thought it was going to be. So I'm actually enjoying going in there, doing events, getting the whispers for the tree and stuff like that. Like it's a lot of fun.
Okay. That's good to
And
know
yeah,
because
there's
that's
no
one of the
night
things I
that
was
I'm
worried
going
about.
in.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and yeah, just kind of wrapping it up. Like so far, I've been playing almost every night, at least for like an hour or two, and still not bored. I'm still all in. I'm looking forward to season one. This is going to be a game I play throughout the year because they really knocked it out of the park in my opinion. And the end game content is exactly what I was most trepidatious about. That was
Right.
the thing that I was like, am I just gonna bounce up once I've done the campaign? No, it's great stuff. So
Nice.
kudos to Blizzard. They exceeded my expectations with this
What,
game.
when do you have time to play games? Because I just want to play Diablo, and I haven't even been able to touch it yet because there's just so much happening. So like,
Yeah.
I'm jealous mostly because I mean it's something I wanted to play,
Well,
but
jump in the season. Jump in when the season starts. You got a
I'm gonna
few
have to make a
weeks.
new character
Yeah,
because like I literally haven't done jack squat with my character in any of
You
them
have to
because
anyways with the season, so I think either
well
way
yeah that's
you're
fine
okay.
and dandy.
Yeah.
Just like oh man, I want to play it, but like I don't think there's been any year like this where there's literally game after game after game where it's just like I'm balancing 4 games at a time, and I just got another 2 today that I'm like, oh crap, we have to work on those now, and they're taking time away because they're really good. And I
Yeah.
mean, I'll have more than that in a couple weeks, but like,
Yeah.
this is a I'm playing. I'll just throw it out there. I'm playing a game right now that I didn't even expect to like, and I'm loving it right now. So like
Nice.
now it's like
Nice.
nice.
another week away from Diablo.
Yeah.
But I want to get some of that legendary loot that's apparently so rare that no one has it. I want that, but I can't do that until I play the game.
Yep.
Are you playing through some Final Fantasy, or have you at all, or is it just
I
me? Of all people, is it just me?
no, I've been playing Final Fantasy 16. I mean, it's very good. I've also been playing Mortal Kombat 1. I did the stress test this weekend.
Hmm.
Um, we can talk about that quick. I know you guys are already been here for an hour, but I got a couple of things we can say about the
Yeah.
stress test. I don't know if you
I'm
Yeah,
played
curious.
it
yeah,
or
go
if you guys
for it.
are interested in
Yeah,
it.
I'm definitely interested to hear about
But
it. Yeah.
I mean, it feels very similar to Mortal Kombat 11. So if you guys played that, like you'll be pretty familiar with it from the get go. Um, it feels about the same as Mortal Kombat 11. It feels more like I don't know, like a not a sequel, but like maybe like an updated version of the game.
Okay.
So I mean, that's cool. I love the new character designs. I love the new fatalities. The levels are gorgeous. Surprisingly, the music's been good so far. Probably the most brutal game I've ever played in my life. Like I can tell you that hands down. Like the fatalities are no joke. And yeah, I mean, I only had about a day with it just because the weekend was busy. But I mean, I spent 3 or 4 hours playing online. Pretty good net code. It looks like. I mean, if you're into that kind of stuff, like you'll be pleasantly surprised. Um, that's it. I mean, we're only a couple months away, but like I'm looking forward to it. I know Street Fighter 6 is out, but now you have the best of both worlds. You got
Yeah.
Capcom Street Fighter, and you got Netherworld's Mortal Kombat 1. And yeah, and then Final Fantasy 16 has been taking up most of my time. I know you guys have been curious about it. I don't know if who's playing it or not. I know Dave, you're with Final Fantasy 7, which is to me the better game, but it's Game of Thrones in a Final Fantasy wrapper. That's legitimately what this game is. And from what I've heard and read online, like everyone's pretty much on the same page about that. It kind of devolves into that typical JRPG. I don't want to say tropes, but they really are. the further into the game you get. Like, it starts off really strong and then kind of just falls off towards the ending. But I mean, the combat system is incredible. I mean, the demo only offered a sliver of what you can do, but by the end of the game, Jesus Christ, the things I was comboing together and just, oh my god, the boss battles, the icon battles are probably the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life on a screen. I wish you guys could experience them with me, because like, it was probably the coolest thing I've ever seen put to a console.
From a distance, just seeing like some videos people posting them, even like short snippets, like 30 seconds of look at this crazy thing in the icon battles. I was like, holy gee, like they look so amazing.
They're larger than life.
Yeah.
And if you ever played Ashura's Wrath, which was like a Capcom game from like the PS3 360 era, it feels like that. It's very QTE dominated. So like you have like cinematic dodges, you have cinematic attacks that you have to time your presses to, and then those build to like a climatic ending where you just strike the enemy down and then acquire their power.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, it's a great game. Clive Rossfield, Ben Starr, he's one of the greatest in that game. Like, he's the lead character. Clive is surprisingly one of the best protagonists the series has seen. But Sid, I don't know if people have, or you guys have seen just some of the posts online talking about how Sid is such a fully realized and like scene stealer in the game. But like, hands down, Ralph Innocent, I believe his name is, like, his performance is outstanding, and he's got a double whammy. So he's starred in FF16 and he's in Diablo, I believe. I just can't remember what character he's playing in that game, but like, he's been doing incredible. His work this year has just been outstanding.
Yeah, he plays not Deckard Cain.
Oh, that guy. That voice is like, is that a real voice? It's crazy.
He kills it.
Talk about a guy who like a guy who needs to be a voice actor.
Yeah, his voice. Yeah, so picture that in a Final Fantasy character.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
he's one of the best versions of Sid I've ever seen. Like, he's like really, really, really cool. The biggest problem that I've noticed so far is, like, we talked about it last week on the review episode. There is a lack of women and POC characters, and it's very whitewashed, the game. Which, I mean, depends on who you are. I personally think they should have added them, but between that and then there's smaller things. I don't like the side quests. They're very filler. They kind of just expand the playtime artificially.
Yeah, just bogs things down a bit.
Yeah, it really is. There are some good ones though. Like, there are two kinds of side quests. One is basically like ones that give you abilities or special skills or push the side stories further, but most of them are just fetch quests. And then the one thing that really, really bugged me is, because they put so much focus on those icon battles, a lot of the main enemies just kind of feel the same after. So they kind of just they start to blend together the further into game you get. So it just kind of feels like they put more focus on the icon battle just because of how big they are and how important they are to the story. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's a great, great game. Not my favorite Final Fantasy, and I'm looking forward to whatever they do next, because like, it was great to go back to this medieval aesthetic, but I think the series always kind of excelled where it was kind of like fantasy, sci-fi, like Final Fantasy 7, 8, I would even say 10. 10's kind of in the middle there, but yeah, I mean, great game. I think everyone should play it once and then kind of see where the series has come, and then kind of revisit the older games. Like, there are a couple of the older games I think that still remain unbeaten, like Final Fantasy 7 Remake. And controversial opinion, I still think Final Fantasy 15 is one of the best games in the series. So there's that.
Hey, maybe one day I'll get to that one too. Yeah, so 16 sounds like it's still a damn good game. While everyone's playing the newest one, I'm playing technically a newer game, but I am playing 7 Remake. I said I would do it, guys, and I finally pulled the trigger and started it. I am not super far, so amazing. Yeah, so don't get too excited. I'm not 20 hours in. I'm not even 10 hours in. I'm only... It has a little like play clock in the bottom corner when you hit the pause menu. I think it said like 4:10, 4:15 or something. Last time if I can remember, I took quick note of it, but I literally should have written it down. But anyways, story wise, without giving too much away, in case anyone has not played 7 or 7 Remake, I followed a certain character home. They had
Okay.
a meal, and then now we are on to the task that she was really trying to do. And I'm in the middle of that. I'm in the middle of that event, I guess you could call it. I have used my big bad monster dude for the first time in that battle, which it sort of gives you the slight small tutorial of what it does and why, and how you can execute it and all that stuff. So I've used that once in a battle that I was surrounded by a bunch of enemies and stuff. So that gives you a taste of sort of how far I am in it so far. And I think the game like looks awesome. I love the design of everything. I love the world design is fantastic. I know it's based off of what was previously there, but man, when you really look at the difference between the two, it's like holy shit. Like they obviously built a whole new game, and it's great. Like it's not like they half-assed this thing. They did not. I've seen screenshots, I've seen video, I've seen reviews, things like that over the last several years. But seeing it in motion, it's constantly a very smooth game. It's constantly, responsive. There's nothing that I have felt or anticipate will feel is like going to cause me any jank or issues or anything like that. And I know there aren't a lot of games like Final Fantasy games that really, have that scenario and stuff, but I think it's just amazing that everything just works. Smooth transitions between conversations and story beats and stuff right back into the gameplay, whether you're just walking around the slums in the town or whether you're going straight into battle. I love that kind of stuff. Something that God of War has obviously sort of done really, really well in the last few years as well. But this is almost even more so because everything very much feels like it's all just always the same engine. It's always presented in the same way. And you'll have this discussion with an enemy and the camera just goes right behind Cloud, and then all of a sudden you're in the battle. And I love that. I love that really brings you into the situation a lot more, as opposed to even just like a really 1 second quick cutaway to black that goes into the battle. Like I love how they've built that into it. So that really has brought me into it. I found the opening kind of cool. I like how things get going pretty quickly. I like those first couple hours, that first chapter. I think it's chapter 2 where you spend a lot of time in the slums and you meet Tifa and you do all the little like tasks around the town and stuff.
Right.
It just lasted too long. I was like, okay, I get it. It's fine. But why am I petting cats? Like I was like, Cloud's like, oh, I have to go find cats. And I was like, oh, I have to go find cats? I didn't realize this was the game I was playing. Because up until that point...
Why is he looking for the musical?
Why? Yeah. It's...
No, you guys won't get it. It's okay.
No. I don't...
Okay.
I don't know. I only sort of know these characters and this world. I'm just like, it's fine. It is well realized. Everything around it, it's definitely, pretty cool how they're sort of showing you different parts of the slums, why you're there, the train, the world building and stuff is all working for me. That part's working for me. The only thing that takes me out of it was that slum thing area just lasted a little too long. The story beats around it were totally fine, but the small tasks and stuff, I was like, okay, I'll do the ones where I can fight the enemies to, I don't know, maybe I'll find another item I like or get some experience or whatever. And then, the dialogue is fine and the delivery of it is mostly fine. It's just not my thing most of the time, but it's fine and it's getting the story across so far. But I also haven't gotten that deep into the main crux of the story, I would say. So I can't really say like, oh, this story is just lame or, oh, these characters I don't like. I have a distinct feeling I'm about to hit something that is going to change everything. And I can see that that's kind of what they're setting up within the first probably 4 to 5 hours. I just have a feeling. I don't know. And then I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna play this whole game. I think I'm just gonna play the whole thing. I like the way the combat feels. I talked a lot about everything else but the combat. Combat's cool. I like how you sort of pause things and you can pick your abilities and everything. I'm still kind of getting used to it. I only have Cloud and Tifa that I can fight as at the moment, sure. And I kind of already forgot if Tifa's good at staggering or is good after staggering, but she's a quick puncher and has cool moves too. So I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. I'll use what I can. I don't know why I have 30 potions already. yeah, I use them every once in a while, but why are they like basically currency? It feels like because there's so many of them. Maybe I'll need them later.
Yeah.
But early on in the game, I'm like potion, 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 potion. Like,
Yeah.
but it sounds like I'm criticizing the game, but so far I like it. So far, I definitely am enjoying it. I'm excited to see where it goes when the party gets bigger, when the battles get bigger, more bombastic, when the story gets deeper. So I'm definitely in at this point. I've kind of been rambling for a little too long, but I think yeah, so far so good. I would say largely, aside from like small things, I'm still in. So Bobby, how crazy
That's
am
awesome.
I?
How what?
How crazy am I?
You're doing good, so I can't call you crazy because you are playing one of the best games in the last like 5-6 years. So you're doing pretty swell. So just stick with it. You'll see why it's one of the better remakes that have come out. I mean, it does something different. It's not just like a one for one remake, which I think is probably why it's so good. And yeah, you'll see some really insane things unfold the further you get in because it just really takes the ball and runs with it. I mean, that's kind of why that's why I think it's stood the test of time like 30 years later. Like it
Right.
took something and then made it better. So you're gonna see some cool boss battles. Like you'll know when you see Barrett, Tifa, and Cloud together very soon, and you'll know the music when it hits you because it was probably the most iconic boss battle in the entire game. So like you're pretty close to it.
Okay.
Take another 3 or 4 hours, and you'll know what it is when you get to it because like it pumps you up and it makes you want to just like kick this boss's ass. But I think Steve knows what I'm talking about. But it is
do,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, it's such an iconic boss battle that it really is like, damn, how did they top this? And then they do it again later on in the game. So
Nice.
you get that at least 2 or 3 times.
Nice.
And then
yeah.
you're good. You got another couple months till the next one. Which we're past FF16, so now we just gotta wait for winter 2024 and see what they do with the sequel.
Yep. Well, now that I've started it, I don't think I'm gonna like mainline the game. It's gonna be like my secondary game kind of thing. But I'm gonna definitely play at least several hours a week. I think so. I don't even really want to know how long it is. I think I've asked you guys in the past, but I don't actually really want to know because I just want to just play through it and just like it's sort of like TV shows. Sometimes I don't want to know how many episodes there are because I don't want to be spoiled of like when they might wrap things up. Especially if it's like a mini series or something like that. Yeah, so it's similar in that way. I just kind of want to go in, I want to experience it and go for it kind of thing. Because yeah, it's just every once in a while the dialogue and the sort of like what is just like oh, this is so not my thing, but it's brief and then you move past it and then you go and fight and the story keeps going. And so far the characters have been pretty cool. I like them so far. They're personable. The writing's still pretty good aside from those little things. And yeah, and the characters themselves, they're fleshing them out already, and it's only been 4 hours for me, so that's pretty cool.
You've got a lot of good stuff to hit. I mean, you'll see once you get, like I said, there's a couple boss battles. There's a couple like really cool sequences that they've expanded upon that are just like, wow. This I wish this like was there like 30 years ago, but like they do such a great job with like the honeybee end, which I'm sure you remember, but they fleshed it out so well.
Man, I honestly will not be able to compare notes because I remember so little of the original that for me, I'm essentially going in this as blind as you possibly could. And maybe that's blasphemy for some people, but for me, they weren't the games I was playing at the time. So maybe I'll recognize some aspects, but already I'm just like, I mean, I kind of recognize some of the names, but that's kind of it. And again, I'm not comparing notes because I don't know what notes to compare them to because I don't have any. So, but I'm okay with that. It's like I'm playing a new game, new story, sort of new characters. Like, I know them a little bit, but not really. And like you guys have both said, like it's essentially a new game, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I'm experiencing it as if it's almost brand new to me, and I'm excited for that. So I'm gonna do that, and then I think once I wrap that, my next PlayStation Plus thing will probably be Ratchet and Clank, I think, because I've been wanting to play that. Yeah, I think that because it's on there now, and I got that sort of mid tier where you're able to play those. So I think it's on the tier. If it's not on the tier I'm on, then I'll play something else. But that's the one that's on my next list. because it just looks fantastic and looks fun. So I'll go from one type of game to another once I wrap this up. So that'll be my next PlayStation Plus go in. So yeah, other than that, I think I will at least stop talking everybody's ear off, and we'll everybody go this time. But Bobby, thanks for popping in, man. Nice to hear that you're still kicking butt and taking names in Final Fantasy 16. We are on some new adventures on social media, Bobby. What's happening?
We're all on True Social now, so join us.
I'm not. I personally am not. I wish I was. I am not.
Can you imagine if we were, though?
That'd be amazing.
Holy fuck. No, we're all on TikTok, guys.
Yeah, no, I definitely do not wish I was there.
No, none of us do. The truth is, it sucks. But no, the good thing is we're on TikTok, and
TikTok,
really, it took us some time, but yeah, join us.
We're where the cool kids are, and I believe it's just Console Creatures is the handle. So that's
correct. Yep.
You're able to secure the S at the end, right? Because we don't have that stupid limit that Twitter has. But yeah, we're on there, and we've got 3 videos. Like, I'm excited, and we're gonna start figuring out how to do it, all of us, because we all like TikTok.
Hey man, it's a good place to find some
more than Twitter.
Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. Good place to find some cool stuff and other cool people. And we're it's just a couple videos. We'll keep expanding. We'll do new things with it. We'll try out new things. And we'll just keep working with it. But it's fun. It's cool that we have it, and we'll keep going. So find us, Console Creatures, on TikTok. And Steve, where can everyone find you online?
Yeah, everywhere. You can find me at Asfigvari.
Amazing. I'm at Dave Petro on Twitter. It's pretty much the only place I am now. But if I get that Blue Sky invite, that might be where I head next. We'll see.
Yeah,
we're working on it.
One of those too.
Yeah, and my
Cool
TikTok.
spot, just saying.
It's a cool spot. Okay, well there you go.
Yeah, it's good vibes over there.
Yeah, so I hear. And you'll find my face on our TikTok channel. So that's where you can find Console Creatures as well. But other than that, thank you everyone for sticking with us. Thank you everyone for welcoming me back. I'm happy to talk games again. Until next time, everyone. See you soon. Have a good week.
Bye.